Hello and welcome to this AVLAND review of the MyAV Home Control app. We're going to talk to you about the different features of this Android app, how it can control things like your television, home cinema receiver, Blu-ray player and set-top box, all in one app.
So we've been waiting for this sort of thing for some time. We've been very critical in the past of manufacturers' apps, and this is something that works with the vast majority of home cinema receivers, and it's just a lot more intuitive. It's built for a tablet, but it also controls other devices. You can see here a Denon receiver with a Pioneer Blu-ray player, and you can turn both of them on. It assigns itself automatically. There's no setup with this. You don't have to program it. It's got all the buttons in it. So here you switch the Blu-ray player on, switch the amp on in one button, go across to the actual Blu-ray input. It changes the screen so that you've got the controls of your Blu-ray player. With this Pioneer one, you've even got feedback, so you can see what time you're on and see whether there's a disc in there, eject the disc, and also still continue to control your home cinema receiver. So the volume down the side, that's doing the volume for the Denon. The input buttons at the bottom is doing the inputs for the Denon, and the left-hand side there, you can see the different input modes. So if you're listening to a CD, you can switch it over to stereo. If you're watching a film, you can have it on surround. This is a big improvement on the manufacturer's apps where you have to go into several different screens. It's also got more buttons than you'd find on the remote control. So here it's got the resolution setting, but it doesn't just have, you can toggle through them by tapping the button, but if you hold the button down for a few seconds, up pops a menu with all the different options. But if you can't be bothered to do that, you can just tap through. And there's a few extra buttons that you wouldn't see on the remote control, and some things that aren't even on the manufacturer's app as well, or they're buried and hidden away in some slidey menu or some pop-up menu. Here it's all in one place, everything you want to control, and you can switch between the modes, you can switch between inputs and do your volume, hit mute, turn the unit on and off. It's all there. Compare this to the manufacturer's app. You've got a slider for the volume, which all the manufacturers seem to be quite fond of. The problem with that is you can very quickly go up to full volume and even damage your speakers. We much prefer the very large buttons. Also, the form factor of it is designed for a phone, which is great, but really a lot of people now have got a tablet in their front room, and they're so cheap now, you can pick them up for next to nothing, an Android tablet. To use that as a remote control is really no problem at all. And you can see the wasted screen area here. This is a huge area of the screen is blank and not in use. We really don't like that. It also looks pretty poor. The resolution of all those buttons, it's grainy, it's pixelated. And then you've got to go through this long list of commands and buttons that pops up in front of you. This, we feel, is much better. Here it is connected to a television. You can see what it looks like on a phone. It's a bit small. That's probably one criticism of it, is that it's small for a phone. All it does is shrink down. It doesn't change in any way. But it's still usable. It's surprisingly still usable. This is the settings menu here, and this changes depending on what you're connected to. Here on a television, you've got the television-related settings, so you can filter it by different genres of television. You can filter it whether it's HD, you can filter it whether it's radio or a television channel. Here you go, all the channels on there. This other function here allows you to delete channels. If you don't want them, you know you'll never want them, you can do that. You can reorder them, so all your favourite channels are in one place together. But then you can also add them, that star that's popping up there. If you drag channels into that, they become your favourites, and then you can get to just show those channels, or quickly click back to showing all of them as well. And if you want to move things like the BBC News channel moving here, you can move that all the way back to the beginning. Now at the moment, this only works in the UK. It's only got UK channels for Freeview and Virgin Media in it, but it will control a Virgin Media TiVo box as long as it's on your local LAN. Virgin Media box has two connections on it. One of them connects off to your television. It gets its television and internet down that for itself, but in order for this to work, it also needs to be connected to your router. Here you can see we're filtering now by favourites, and it's just got those ones that I've added. And if that's all you ever watch, that's all you need. You don't need to scroll through, you've just got those channels. And it just makes life a lot easier. Like I say, it works with set-top boxes like the Virgin Media TiVo. Here it is working with a Humax set-top box. It does the same sort of thing as on the television. The difference is here as well, you've got feedback, so it shows you what television channel it's actually on. It does the same for Virgin Media. It shows you the logo of what's currently on, what you're currently viewing. Settings are pretty similar. You can see here in the one that's TV HDMI, that allows you to set which HDMI input on your television you want it to switch to when you switch to that specific input. So if you've been watching television using your television tuner, but then you want to go across to Blu-ray, and your home cinema receiver is plugged into HDMI 1, the app will switch over the television, if it can do, to that input. So you don't have to keep going backwards and forwards to the different through the different things. At least you don't have to go backwards and forwards to the different amps as well, with different apps. You can just do all here in one app. There you can see as well, you can filter by radio. It works with a variety of different manufacturers. Here you can see on our network we've got Pioneer, Sony, Onkyo, Denon, all connected at the same time. You can switch between them. This is Onkyo's app. Again, not built for a tablet. Where's the volume control? It's buried in the bottom in a little pop-up menu that doesn't even show on this tablet. You can't even do the volume. The inputs, you have to go into a different menu. It's very frustrating. And this only will control the Onkyo. It won't control your television. It won't control a set-top box. And it won't control a Blu-ray player using IP commands. So very, very limited in what it can do. You've got to go between the different apps to do that. And just not very intuitive. I really love using this app when I'm just controlling the AV receiver, because it's so much easier. The volume's always there. I can always do the volume, which is, most of the time is what you're using to control. It's what you're changing. And it gives me great feedback there. It's showing which sound mode the receiver's in. It's in Dolby PL2 Music. It's showing me which input it's on. It's showing me that the amp is switched on. And this is brilliant if you've got your actual equipment hidden away, which we do in our demo room. We have it in a little cupboard. It's not in line of sight. You can't use the remote control, the infrared remote control. It also has a DLNA browser, and you can see it loads really quickly. You just go through the different albums, select what you want, it starts playing, and it plays the whole entire album as well. So really quick. And you've still got your volume there. There are third-party sort of UPnP and DLNA apps on the market, but they don't always do the commands like your volume and things like that, or it's buried somewhere. The other thing I love about this is you can select a default NAS drive. Our router's a NAS drive. We don't use it as a DLNA server. We don't use it for that. We have a dedicated NAS drive. We always want to connect to that. And you can also set a default folder. We find they always have a music, video, pictures folder, and then sometimes another music, video, pictures folder. And then how do you want to view it? Do you want to list by album artist? Do you want to list by location? Well, we generally want to do it by location because that's how we put the music in there. You can set that as your default folder. So then when you go to the DLNA button, it loads exactly where you want to be. You've got a list of all your albums or all your artists, however you want to organise it. Here, back again on an AV receiver, you've got all the controls in one place. You've got your navigation pad for your setup menus. You can adjust all your different levels for the different volumes on the speakers. You can turn everything off. You can see there the feedback you're getting on the button, on the Blu-ray button. It lights up green or red, depending on whether the unit is turned on or off, if it's got that ability. Not all things do give you feedback. Some things are one way only. For instance, the Panasonic television we're testing it with doesn't give you anything back. It doesn't say what channel it's on. But where available, it does seem to show you what's going on. Here you've got the track time from the Blu-ray player. On the AV receiver, you've got which sound mode it's in. Here, it also works with Zone 2, which is even more useful if your Zone 2 is normally going to be in a kitchen or a bedroom, somewhere else in the house, where you can't use the remote control to control it. So an app is really important in that case. This remembers which zone you're in. So if you switch over to Zone 2, close the app and open it again, it stays in Zone 2. The manufacturer's apps don't normally. They go back to default to Zone 1 and you have to find where you change it to. Here you can see the speed of the feedback. This is on the Nexus 7, the earlier Nexus 7 2012 edition. And you can see here it's just almost instant when you switch to the inputs or turn the volume up and down to give you that feedback. These aren't connected. These are both on the Wi-Fi. So very, very good, quick feedback. Now, pros and cons. It's amazingly intuitive to use. It's really, really easy to use. We really love that part of it. And we were actually involved in the development of this app. We did a lot of the testing for MyAV, and we found it so useful in our demonstration room. All we have to do now is plug the amp into our network, and then we find it on the app, and it configures itself with all the buttons you want to use. When we're setting up an app for a customer who comes into our demonstration room, you have to set up all the levels, you have to access all the menus. We don't have to fumble around for the remote control anymore, or make sure that we've got the latest app installed. This just controls everything we sell, and that's really, for us, a brilliant pro. But even in your home, if you've got more than one AV receiver, you can switch between the two. You can set one as a default. If you've always got one AV receiver in one room, you can do that for that tablet. It can control more than just the one device. This means it's a really powerful universal remote. So in the past, we've had things like the Nevo remote. We've had things like Philips Pronto remotes in our demo room. It does that sort of functionality, but without having to program it up. There is no programming. There's no setup. There are a few settings that you may or may not need to configure. Sometimes it gets it just right. You can reassign the inputs to different things. If your Blu-ray player is connected to your DVD input, you can do that. But most of the time, it gets it just spot on right where you need it to be. And for that, it's just brilliant. You don't need to know about computers, tablets, programming, codes between different things. It just works. It finds your device and works. And it looks nice. It's high resolution. It pulls the album art back from your DLNA server, just how it's stored there. Things like the Onkyo app, it's a very small, tiny image and looks really grainy. It looks really clear. We use it now on the latest Nexus 7, the 2013, which has a 1080p screen, and all the buttons all look clean and crisp. Cons, well, it's not free. You have to pay for it. So compared to the manufacturer's apps, it costs you money. And it only works on Android at the moment. There isn't. It doesn't work on anything else. But apart from that, we can't really think of anything that's bad about it. It doesn't work with every single device that's out there, but they're constantly adding things. If you look at the MyAV website, which is myav.co.uk, there's a compatibility list, and there's constant new products going on there. We've been aiding them with that as well. We've been helping them because there's a lot of different devices on the market. So, but no, it's a really, really good app, and there's a free trial as well on Google Play, and you can download it there, and it's worth trying out. It really is worth trying out to see how you get on with this, because it is so much more user-friendly than the manufacturer's apps.
That's the end of our review of the MyAV Home Control app. If you'd like to download this app, please click on the icon just here to take you to the Google Play Store. And if you'd like to see more video reviews of products, please visit our website, avland.co.uk. Thank you.